Good morning to everybody. Today I am going to demonstrate to you the pharynx. The pharynx, it is a fibromuscular tube that will extend from the base of the skull till the lower part of the sixth cervical vertebra or lower part of the cricoid cartilage. Being as a fibromuscular tube, anteriorly the upper part which will be deficient, where it communicates with the upper part with the nasal cavity. The middle part anteriorly communicates with the oral cavity proper. The anteriorly in the lower part which is bounded by the obliquity of the inlet of larynx. Now you can see the detail of the wall of the pharynx with the subdivision as a nasal part of the pharynx, oral part of the pharynx, then laryngeal part of the pharynx. So below the level of the cricoid cartilage or sixth cervical vertebra, the pharynx continues with the esophagus. At that continuation, it has a small construction, that is pharyngo-esophageal construction. That construction, it is the narrowest part of the GI tract. Next to is appendix of the GI tract. See the boundary. The nasopharynx having superiorly limited by roof by sloping part of the body of the sphenoid and also basilar part of the occipital bone, and posterior wall and also formed by arch of Atlas. Then anteriorly it is incomplete, it communicates with the nasal cavity through posterior nasal aperture or choanate. The choanate at this level measures about 2.5 cm length, 1.5 cm width. Then laterally, the lateral part of the nasopharynx which present tubal elevation and tubal opening of medial end of the auditory tube. The tubal elevation which bound upper part of the auditory opening and also lower part of the auditory opening. So here that which mainly formed by salpingopharyngeal fold. Deep to that you have the salpingopharyngeal muscle. It is one of the longitudinal muscles of the pharynx. So this auditory opening which present at the level of inferior concha of the nose. Inferior concha of the nose. Behind to that salpingopharyngeal fold, you have a small depression or recess. That recess we can call it as, this is the recess, we can call it as pharyngeal recess or fossa of the Rosenmuller. Fossa of the Rosenmuller. The posterior wall, deep to the mucous membrane, you have the presence of the pharyngeal tonsil. So that pharyngeal tonsil, which will be clearly demarcated in the infant. The inflammation of the pharyngeal tonsil will give rise to enlargement of the tonsil as adenoid. Then inferiorly, which is bounded by superior sloping surface of the soft palate. Sloping surface of the soft palate. At this level, you have the presence of the pharyngeal or nasopharyngeal isthmus. So nasopharyngeal isthmus, which make that narrowing of the pharynx from the soft palate, so it will get closed during the time of swallowing process to prevent the regurgitation of the food into the nasal part of the pharynx. Coming to the mucous membrane over the nasopharynx, that nasopharynx would be lined with the mucous membrane. That mucous membrane lined with the type of epithelium similar to the nose, that is ciliated columnar epithelium. Then coming to the middle part, that is the oropharynx. The oropharynx, the upper part which bounded by in this tubal elevation, and also we are having tubal tonsil. So tubal tonsil and pharyngeal tonsil will be present in the nasopharynx. So that which makes pharyngeal tonsil in the posterior level, then tubal tonsil the lateral level, then palatal tonsil also lateral level, the lingual tonsil in the anterior level. Thus both side of the tonsil which make a ring obliquely placed of the ring-like appearance, that is Waldes ring. That is the Waldes ring. This is about the nasopharynx. Oropharynx, superiorly which is bounded by the concavity of the soft palate. Concavity of the soft palate. Concavity of the soft palate. Superiorly. Concavity of the soft palate. Inferiorly bounded by diastema of the tongue and also epiglottis. Diastema of the tongue and also epiglottis. Then anteriorly it is incomplete. It gets open with the oral cavity proper. So where you have the presence of the oropharyngeal isthmus. Oropharyngeal isthmus. So that oropharyngeal isthmus, that which is formed by palatoclassal arch. Then posteriorly bounded by the superior constrictor. Both nasal part of the pharynx and middle oral part of the pharynx posteriorly bounded by the superior constrictor of the pharynx. Still behind the oral part of the pharynx which is bounded by the second and part of the third vertebra, particularly the second cervical vertebra. Lower part of the first, second cervical vertebra. Then you have the muscular vein. So the muscle of the constrictor which rests on the anterior surface of the vertebral column, where which having the lining of the prevertebral fascia. Prevertebral fascia. The features of this region, so anteriorly communicate with the oral cavity proper, above it communicate with the nasopharynx, below it communicate with the laryngopharynx, posteriorly which is bounded by the muscle. Then laterally you have the presence of the two folding, palatoclassal fold and palatopharyngeal fold. In between you have tonsillar fossa. The tonsillar fossa which gives accommodation to the palatine tonsil. So anterior fold that extend from the hard palate till the junction of lateral aspect of the tongue between anterior 2/3 of the tongue with the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. This is the here palatoclassal arch. So that palatoclassal arch, inside you have the palatoclassal muscle. So palatoclassal muscle you are having. Then posteriorly you have palatopharyngeal muscle or fold here. So this which bounded making the boundary of the tonsillar fossa. The upper part of the tonsillar fossa which will be narrow, where you have a small space, that is supratonsillar fossa. Supratonsillar fossa. So these are the features in the oral part of the pharynx. Then coming to the laryngopharynx. The laryngopharynx, which is the lowermost part of the pharynx, it present behind to the inlet of larynx and posterior to the cricoid cartilage or cartilage of the larynx. So superiorly it continues with the oropharynx, inferiorly it continues with the esophagus, So anteriorly it gets related to the inlet of larynx. That inlet of the larynx formed by anteriorly by the epiglottis, and you have the ariepiglottic fold on either side. Then interarytenoid fold or mucous fold of the mucous membrane, that which make upper part. The lower part, posterior wall of the pharynx. So the anteriorly the limitation will be sloping nature, oblique nature. The posteriorly which is bounded by the constrictor muscle, that is the inferior constrictor, that which consists of thyropharyngeus as well as cricopharyngeus. Still this muscle which is separated from the bone of the third, fourth, fifth and sixth cervical vertebra. Beyond the lower part of the sixth cervical vertebra or lower part of the cricoid cartilage, that part of the laryngopharynx continues downward as esophagus. At that esophagus, there is a small constriction, that is esophageal constriction. It will be narrowest part of the GI tract next to appendix. Appendix also we can say is a narrowest part of the GI tract. So the entire part, if you are starting from the pharynx till the anal canal, so esophageal constriction here, the junction of pharyngo-esophageal junction, it will be narrowest part of the GI tract, gastrointestinal tract or digestive tract. This is the subdivisions of the pharynx. As I said, it's a fibroelastic muscular tube. You have the muscles of the pharynx as even wall of the structure of the pharynx. If you see structures which are bounded by the laterally by medial pterygoid plate in the upper part, and in the lower part which is bounded by the mandible, still below which is bounded by the hyoid bone. That is the lateral level. Then coming to the muscle, the muscles which consist the structure of the or wall of the pharynx, which consists of anteriorly the upper part and middle part it is incomplete, and lower part it is complete, it will be oblique nature. Posteriorly which will be completed by the raphe, by the presence of the 3 constrictor muscle and 3 longitudinal muscle. So from within outwards, the wall of the pharynx which consists of mucous layer, submucous layer, or in the submucous layer you have pharyngobasilar fascia, then you have muscular layer, then you have the buccopharyngeal fascia. Buccopharyngeal fascia. The mucous layer, the mucosa which line the nasal part of the pharynx which line with the ciliated columnar epithelium. Rest of the part, oropharynx and laryngopharynx, that which line with the stativerse squamous epithelia keratinized. Then submucous, that pharyngobasilar fascia which is present deep to the muscle. I mean deep in the sense deep to the mucous membrane and near and anterior to the muscle. So coming to the muscular layer, you have 3 constrictor: superior constrictor, middle constrictor and inferior constrictor. These all the muscle which will be look like as arrangement of flower pot. First we can see the inferior constrictor. The inferior constrictor which overlap the middle constrictor. The middle constrictor which overlap the lower part of the superior constrictor. The inferior constrictor which consists of 2 portions as thyropharyngeus and cricopharyngeus. The cricopharyngeus which takes origin from side of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage of the larynx and fascia covering the cricothyroid muscle. Thyropharyngeus, that which takes origin from oblique line present in the lateral aspect of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. So the cricopharyngeus which will be horizontal nature, the thyropharyngeal which will be in oblique nature. So when the thyropharyngeus which contract as a propulsive movement, the cricopharyngeus which may get relaxed. So that which helps in the pathway of the during the time of declutation, or the third stage of the declutation, or second stage of the declutation. So that is the involuntary. So inferior to the inferior constrictor, deep to that lower border, you have entering of one nerve and one muscle, that is recurrent laryngeal nerve and inferior laryngeal artery. The gap between the superior part of the inferior constrictor and lower part of the middle constrictor, entering of superior laryngeal artery and internal laryngeal nerve. So that the intern which pierces the thyrohyoid membrane. Then coming to the middle constrictor, the middle constrictor which takes origin from right side as well as left side, from lower part of the hyoid, the stylohyoid ligament, greater horn of the hyoid, lesser horn of the hyoid, which will get converged posteriorly and making attachment to the median raphe in the posterior aspect. Median raphe on the posterior aspect. Then coming to the superior constrictor, the superior constrictor which takes the origin from medial lamina or medial pterygoid plate, posterior part of the medial pterygoid. Superior constrictor, it is a larger proportion that which mainly cover, making the boundary, posterior boundary and lateral boundary of nasopharynx as well as oropharynx. So this muscle which it takes origin from above downwards, posterior part of medial pterygoid plate or lamina, pterygoid annulus, pterygomandibular raphe, and also posterior limit of the mylohyoid in the mandible. So after taking origin of this place, the muscle which get converges and get inserted to the pharyngeal tubercle of the base of the skull, basilar part of the occipital bone. Now the gap which present between the middle constrictor and superior constrictor, that which give passage of stylopharyngeus muscle and glossopharyngeal nerve. The gap between the base of skull and superior constrictor, we can call it, it is filled with fibrous tissue. The gap also known as sinus of the Marcovani on either side and the midline. So through the sinus of Marcovani, where we have fusion of the both pharyngobasilar fascia as well as buccopharyngeal fascia. In that level, you have entering of cartilaginous part of the auditory tube between the petrous part of the temporal bone and the greater wing of the sphenoid. Along with this, you have entering of levator palatal muscle, tensor palatal muscle, ascending palatal artery. Among these four structures, levator palatal muscle which descend downwards, the remaining muscle which ascend upwards. So this is the gap present between the constrictor muscles of the pharynx. Coming to the longitudinal muscle, so you have got right side 3 muscle, left side 3 muscle. So that muscle we can have salpingopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus and stylopharyngeus. The salpingopharyngeus muscle, which takes origin from inferior surface of cartilaginous part of the auditory tube, because the auditory tube which connects the nasal part of the pharynx with the middle ear cavity. The lateral 1/3 is made up of bony part. The medial 2/3 is made up of cartilaginous part. From that cartilaginous part, you have the origin of the salpingopharyngeus, which descend downwards, get fuses with the palatopharyngeus, and finally taking the attachment into the posterior part of lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Then next is second, palatopharyngeus. The palatopharyngeus is one of the launching muscle that which takes origin from superior surface of palatal, hard palate and also soft palate as two lamina. This which descend downwards along the palatopharyngeal fold, that which get inserted into upper part of the posterior part of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Then stylopharyngeus, this also the muscle present deep to the constrictor, that which takes the origin from medial surface of the styloid process, get mixes or joined with the rest of the two muscles, rest along with the palatopharyngeus, salpingopharyngeus, and get attached with the posterior part of lamina of the thyroid cartilage. So these are the attachment of the constrictor muscle as well as longitudinal muscle. So this muscle motor supplied by pharyngeal plexus. That pharyngeal plexus formed by branch from vagus nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and part of the cranial root of the accessory nerve. Except stylopharyngeus muscle. The stylopharyngeus muscle, that which is supplied by glossopharyngeal nerve. So this is the motor supply to the muscles of the pharynx. The sensory innervation to the pharynx which is supplied by branches from the vagus nerve, particularly through the internal laryngeal nerve and also recurrent laryngeal nerve. Then arterial supply to the pharynx, supplied by the major branch comes from the ascending pharyngeal artery, that is the branch of external carotid artery. Then ascending palatal artery is a branch comes from facial artery. Then branches from the maxillary artery. Then branches from lingual artery. So these are the major source for the blood supply to the pharynx. Then venous drainage, the veins which are brought by the pharyngeus venous plexus that present outside of the pharyngeal wall. Then lymphatic drainage of the pharynx, that which mostly trains into upper deep cervical lymph nodes and also retropharyngeal lymph nodes. This is about the anatomical features of the pharynx. So this pharynx which mainly takes part in the functions of swallowing and phonation, even the part of the respiration. So in the deglutition process, we have the three phases or three stages. They are, first stage, it is a voluntary nature. Second stage, that which occur in the pharynx. Third phase, which occur in the esophagus. The second and third phase, it is an involuntary nature. So that swallowing, it is a major event. It is a physiological phenomenon we can have in the physiological aspect. Here, the two things I would like to mention. Paswan Briggs
and Killian dehiscence. The password we will see that part of the palatopharyngeus, it is a large muscle. Some fiber which make us a horizontal, making some U-shaped appearance over the posterior wall of the pharynx. It will make a ridge. Through that ridge, the posterior part of the soft palate will come in contact with that. So that password ridge which will prevent entering of or regurgitation of the food from oropharynx to the nasopharynx. Then second feature, Killian dehiscence. As I said, the inferior construct muscle, which has got two components, as thyrapharyngeus and cricopharyngeus. The thyrapharyngeus, which is supplied by the branch from acromion plexus. The cricopharyngeus, that which is supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So, because of due to different nerve supply, the thyrapharyngeus, which act as a propulsive movement during the swallowing stage, the cricopharyngeus, which act as a relaxation. If the defect in the cricopharyngeus, the food will passes into the weakening part of the inferior constructor, that is a Killian dehiscence. As in the diverticum, the diverticum we can call it as Jenga diverticum. So food bolus will passes, instead of passing through the lower part of the pharynx, laryngopharynx, it may get escaped into the diverticum. So this is the one of the anomalous condition, clinical condition we can have for the inferior construct of the pharynx.
Tongue, part of the pharynx. This is the cavity of the larynx. So, here, lateral to the wall of the larynx, you have one deepened recess. That recess or gutter called as pyriform fossa. The pyriform fossa, it will be very clearly demarcated in ruminating animals. So the boundary of the pyriform fossa present lateral to the, it is a part of the laryngopharynx, present lateral to the larynx. It bounded by, medially bounded by aryepiglottic fold, laterally bounded by the lamina of the thyroid cartilage and also thyroid membrane. It lined by the mucous membrane. The floor which will be narrow, the upper part will be wider. So this fossa, pyriform fossa, due to dilatation of the larynx, you have the formation of the pyriform fossa. In this floor, the mucous membrane, deep to the mucous membrane, you have submucosal structure. In that level, you have the presence of internal laryngeal nerve. So that nerve which gets stimulated along with the recurrent nerve, it will lead into some clinical condition. Usually in this fossa, normally the food folds maybe get lodged, like while taking the food, the bone of the fish bone and some other particle which get lodged in the pyriform fossa. Somebody in artificially this fossa will be misused to smuggling the precious diamond. So because of that, the pyriform fossa, we can call it as smuggler fossa. Smuggler fossa. So we have to take care while removing the particle from the pyriform fossa without making the damage to the internally or lowerly situated nerves and vessels. Clear?